My name is Maya Amber Sherer, and I happen to be Glenis Redmond's daughter. I'm also a mom of my wonderful son, Julian Josiah Priester. And today I have several poems that I have written and other children have written in different poetry exercises that myself and my mother created. And we're just really trying to create a safe, better world. Peace, kids. Hugs are forever. They can reach the sun and moon above. A smile can brighten the day. A simple reminder, I care. A little mask is a kind act. Now, we learn a bear hug for yourself can reach the world. So let's hug COVID 2020. The next poem is called A Recipe for a Better World. And I have brought a basket that I crafted myself when I was in middle school. And it's all about weaving together. So let's weave our words together with meaning. Let's weave a peaceful Easter basket full of beautiful eggs. What will they hatch? Will they hatch love? Will they hatch faith? Will they hatch grace? Will they hatch hope? And we pray for healing, for kingdom builders. Let's weave a peaceful Easter basket together. This is a poem that I wrote with the children at St. Anthony's School. During the poetry workshop, all of the words and concepts from this poem came from the brainstorming and imagination of the 5th and 6th graders, responding to the prompt, what you believe in. Thank you to all of the students that shared. This was the poem that we created. St. Anthony's poem. We believe in the color blue. We believe in the color green. We are creators. Gratitude, peace, change. We dream of a non-violent world where beloved children lead with their hearts, where beloved children erase poverty, racism. So be love and make your dreams come true. It is my privilege and great honor to introduce my mother, Glenis Gail Redmond. She is a wonderful being on this earth, and she has helped so many kids. And this is the time that we need her the most. My mother.
This is a chapbook that I created titled Poetry Circles 2 for kids of all ages, poems by Glenis Redmond. And on the front is my grandson.
My son.
Her son, Julian, who is the joy of both of our lives. And he's also a little boy who is full of energy, who loves Sonic the Hedgehog, Transformers, and monster trucks. So he's with us in spirit because he's home with my mom, her grandmother. This poem is a linked cinquain, and you do 2, 4, 6, 8, back to 2 syllables in each poem. So I'm going to start off, and then Amber's going to join me. What Julian teaches Gaga to see cranes, always look up, construction sites delight, whir, crank, hoist, lift, hold, heave, and hold, build worlds.
Mud puddles, hip, hop, splish, splash, splash, splish, little boy in puddles, loud laughter, boots, jumps, making songs, plunk, plop.
Julian, big talker. Letters form words like water, falls from Julian's mind. Bubbles travel into clear air. Big talk.
Julian's request for breakfast. Cheerios sometimes, hot butter grits sometimes too. Gummies all the time.
He wins sometimes.
Dinosaur dreams. Huge, tall, gray dinosaurs. Thrashing, crashing, crunching. Brachiosaurus, Stegosaurus. Roar! Wake up!
Hi there, I hope you enjoyed Amber's poetry, and it was so exciting to have Amber and her mother Glenis with her. Amber's first poem was about masks.
A little mask is a kind act.
So we're going to create a mask today, and we're going to use some tie-dye fabric, and I'm going to show you how to make some tie-dye. And then we'll make a mask out of the fabric. And her last poem was about dinosaurs. So we're going to create some paper plate dinosaurs that are really easy and fun to make. To make our dinosaurs, you need just some household paper plates. You'll need some paint, any kind of paint will do. Glue dots, sequins, markers, crayons, googly eyes, scissors, maybe some brads, a paintbrush, and some water. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to create our pattern to cut out our dinosaur. We're going to cut this all out of one paper plate. And the best thing to do is to paint your plates first. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Make sure you're painting on a covered surface first so that you don't get paint everywhere. And you can see here I did 2 coats of paint. This is the first coat that you can kind of see through, and here it's a little more solid. So I'm going to show you how to create this pattern, simple pattern with a paintbrush. I'm going to use a paper plate as my palette, and I'm going to squeeze some paint out on the palette. You don't want to fill it up, you want to use about a quarter size so you don't waste paint. And to create this pattern, all I did was this. Now at first it looks like it's not going to show up, but this tempera paint, when it dries, gets a little brighter. And it will look like this when it dries. And don't forget to wash your paintbrush out. In order to create our pattern pieces, we're going to take our plate and flip it upside down. And it looks messy, and that's okay, because this is going to be the back of our dinosaur. So the first thing you want to do is take a marker or a crayon, and you want to cut the paper plate in half with a line. Then come over here to one side and draw a line halfway between here and this side. We're going to create the tail of our Brachiosaurus, starting at this point and then ending at this point. So we're going to do a little bit of an angle like this. That will create our tail. Now we need to create the head. So starting right here, we're going to draw a half a circle and a line up this way, which creates the neck of our Brachiosaurus. And then we're going to make 4 little legs here in the center. That's our pattern. Now I have the rest of this paper plate left over, so if I wanted to make a couple dinosaurs, I could cut extra shapes out of this. We're going to take some glue dots, and we will attach these with glue dots on the back side. And we're going to put a little googly eye on our dinosaur right here. And you can decorate him in any kind of pattern that you want. Now to create our Stegosaurus, here we have 2 examples. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to draw a line dividing our plate into 2 sections. Again, we need to make a tail. We divide this section in half and we draw a line. If you want to do the rounded tail, you can just and then cut that out as one piece. Now the Stegosaurus has a little round head, so we're just going to cut out a round head right here. And we need to do some legs, and we need to do these bumps on top. So we're going to do some smaller bumps here. And I've got room here, so I'm going to add a couple more. And I'm going to add some legs. There's our Stegosaurus. To create our T-Rex, we did something very similar, except we made him have a square head and 2 longer legs and 2 shorter legs. Same thing. Divide your plate in half, cut your tail, and then create your other pieces. Okay, are you ready to tie-dye? Now, one thing about tie-dyeing is it's really messy, so I really highly recommend an apron or old clothes and covering your hands with gloves. I didn't do that yesterday, and I have purple hands today. So, to create our masks, our scarves, I bought these little 99-cent bandanas, and I cut the tags off. And then I ironed them. I ironed them flat. And then what do is you're going to put your fabric into a mixture of 1/2 vinegar and 1/2 water, and you're going to let it soak for 1 hour. That helps our dyes stay. Now today we're not going to use regular tie dyes. I mixed food coloring and water. We used 10 drops of food coloring to 8 ounces of water. That's what we're going to use today in case you don't have tie-dye at home and you happen to have food coloring at home. That's what we're going to use. So now we have had our piece of fabric in here. Now you can also use a t-shirt. This is fun to also do with a t-shirt. And we're going to wring it out. You want to wring out all the vinegar and water as much as you can get out. And yes, it's going to stink, just to warn you. It's going to smell bad. So now we have a wet piece of fabric. So now we have our wet piece of cloth, and I have flattened it out. We're going to create this pattern right here. This is a pretty easy one. Do you know how to fold a paper fan? You go back and forth. Now we're going to do the same thing going this direction. The smaller you make your folds, the smaller your pattern will be. And if this is going to be a mask on your face, you might want to do a small pattern. So I'm folding this way, but you can also do it the old-fashioned way like this. Fold, turn, and fold again. Turn and fold again. To save time, I'm going to fold like this. Okay, so right now I just have a stack of folded fabric. We're going to put some rubber bands around it to hold it in place while we put the dye on it. So I've got my folded fabric right here to make my geometric pattern. I'm going to tie-dye over an old towel because this does make a mess. Be careful with what colors you choose. You want to use colors that are next to each other on the color wheel or next to each other on the rainbow, because if you use complementary colors, which are opposite each other on the color wheel, you'll get brown. So purple and yellow make brown, red and green make brown, and blue and orange make brown. So I'm going to shake up my food coloring that I had already mixed, and basically, and these are some old bottles that I have from another project, and you're going to squirt it on. You want to get all the edges. Look how fun that is to do. And I'm going to switch colors. Now blue and green are next to each other, so I'm going to use blue and green. Maybe I'll put a little more green on this side. And the dye actually goes down just a little tiny bit into the seams. So now what you want to do with this is you want to put this in a plastic bag and let it sit for 8 hours. After 8 hours, you take it out of the bag. You take your rubber bands off, and you rinse it in water. And when you rinse it in water, then you want to hang it up to dry. You don't want to wash it right away. You want to hang it up to dry, or you want to iron it. And the heat from the dryer or the iron will set the colors, and then you can wash it the next time. So now, in order to create this pretty spiral design, we have a completely different way of folding the cloth. we're going to lay the cloth out. If you want your spiral to be in the center, then pick the center, and you're going to start to twist the fabric like this. You're just pinching and flattening. We're going to use some rubber bands that will help guide us as to where we're going to put our colors. So the first, we're going to put a rubber band this way, and rubber band this way. This will give us sections to add our color. You can still see the spiral pattern inside on the front and the back. So in order to create this pattern, I used red, blue, and purple. Sorry, Taylor. Give it a good shake because it's been sitting there for a while. And I'm going to squeeze this on here. And because I'm using 3 colors, I'm going to go over to the third one and add. Don't forget to put a towel down, otherwise you have spilled dye. Okay, so you put it in a plastic bag and you let it sit for 8 hours. Again, these are food coloring dyes, so they're not quite as bright as regular tie dyes. After it has been in a bag for 8 hours, you're going to take the rubber bands off and you're going to rinse it out under the water. After you rinse it in the water, you're going to let it dry. You can put it in the dryer or you can just hang it up to dry. So now we have heat set our pattern with an iron or the dryer, and we've washed it. Now we're going to fold it into a mask. And you can see through the wash it is no longer square, but that's okay. We're going to fold it so that it'll be square. First thing you want to do is fold halfway in from the bottom up, and then from the top halfway in. And then we're going to fold it again. Now to me this seems a little wide, so I'm going to refold it because I think that'll be too big for my face. I'm going to fold it just a little bit narrower. I think this width is a little better. And you can use hair ties or you can use rubber bands. I'm going to use rubber bands right now to show you. We're going to just slip the rubber band over the end like this. Put the rubber band over this side. Going to pick it up, put it on our face. And there you'd have your very own custom-made mask, and you didn't sew a thing. Okay, so on this one, again, when I took it out of the wash, it was all distorted. And I got some really interesting patterns from the tie-dyeing. We're going to fold half of it up and fold it again. So now we're rectangle, a long, long rectangle, and fold this in. Now, do I want this side on my face? I like this side better, so I'm going to flip it down. And this time I'm going to use hair ties. I'm going to slip the hair ties over this end and one over this end. And see, that was the pattern I liked, so that's on the outside. My face. And now I have a mask that matches my shirt. If you're tie-dyeing more than one thing, you need to make sure you rinse it out really well. And make sure you wear gloves when you're rinsing, otherwise you're going to have colored hands like I have now. So I forgot to put my gloves back on. And wash each one separately so that you don't get transfer color from one to the other that wasn't part of your pattern. I hope you had fun today. Tie-dyeing is so much fun. Making dinosaurs is so much fun. I hope you tune in next week for our next